Cinema Curse. What are we doing special for the 50th episode? Nothing. Instead, we're just finishing off our last batch of big 2024 movies with some horny monsters. A coterie of them. We've got Nosferatu, Babygirl, Nightbitch, and the horniest, most monstrous of them all, Bob Dylan, as portrayed by Timothée Chalamet in A Complete Unknown. I'm Lloyd Crews, your wicked game master. Last week I was manifesting peace for all the fucked up shit that's going on. This week I'm manifesting pain. If you're a certain someone who did a certain salute, who can say what kind, at a certain presidential inauguration recently, or someone supporting this guy, I hope, I can't go too far because my friend Celeste will get mad at me, but I know she's okay with this. I hope frequently, for the foreseeable future, you eat spicy foods and like don't wipe your hands well and get it all in your eyes and go to the bathroom and get it like in your private areas. Because go fuck yourself.
Sounds pretty brutal. That sounds pretty. What is Celeste not cool with?
More direct.
Just like hostile.
Yeah.
Experiences. Got it.
More direct violence.
And that's Bri Robert.
Hey guys.
And Daisygreen Stenhouse.
Hello.
And it's been 448 days since the strike ended. The APTP still sucks. Marina Sakamoto and her band Shunken, I want to thank for use of their song Curse off the EP She Nods in our opening. And yeah, I guess I have this in my opening thing about just asking people should donate, not to anywhere particular, just like, places you could donate to. $5. Because things are fucked up.
Things are fucked up. That is an understatement of life.
How are y'all?
Just living this longest January in the history of Januaries.
Oh my God. It is the longest January.
Yeah.
I was logging. I just watched Nightbitch today and was logging it on Letterboxd and was looking back at like what I was watching 14 days ago, and I was like, God, I can't believe that was 2 weeks ago. That was like a dark period of film watching.
Yeah, it's already. I mean, the fires. It feels like that was just yesterday, and also 10 years ago.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But what are we talking about first? Oh yeah. Let's talk about a complete unknown. This is a screen cat grab from a YouTube video called "What's Dylan Grillin'" by the very good Neil Cicierega that people should watch. Who wants to summarize a complete unknown?
I can, I guess.
Okay, Daisygreen.
A complete unknown is a Bob Dylan biopic starring Timothée Chalamet playing Mr. Dylan, about the early days of Bob's career leading up to the very controversial decision to go electric. So it really covers his, his rise in the folk music scene and his sort of situationships with various women and some of his relationships with non-sexual relationships, I guess, with some other folk guys of the time.
Kind of like his first era, essentially, seemingly.
Yeah.
I don't know a whole lot about old Bobby D, but I think that focus made this better than a lot of other biopics I've seen, because it actually gave it a narrative.
Yes.
And like I like the way they used Woody Guthrie as like kind of he represented the idea of traditional folk music.
Yes.
And I like that stuff. I know both you and your husband, right? I always forget if y'all we're at what stage of the.
Yes, we're wed.
We're wed. Both you and your husband put this in your top films of the year, so y'all liked it quite a bit.
No, I didn't.
He did. Did you not?
Yeah, I did not. No.
Okay.
Would not have. If I did, it was a typo. Let me see. Let me fact check you.
You did not.
Thank you.
Your beloved did, though.
That's surprising to me. But yeah, this was not in the top films for me. But are we just talking about what we think about it now?
Yeah.
So I saw this like on Christmas Day or the day after Christmas with my whole family.
Same.
Which I will say, like in that context, great movie.
Yeah.
Like perfect Christmas type of movie.
It's like Boomer Marvel in a lot of ways. There's like a lot of moments where it's like, oh, I remember when he got assassinated.
We were in they were like, oh, they got him in here. Like, that's crazy.
Yeah.
I saw it yesterday, and it was definitely a bit of a boomer crowd who are really excited to see certain things. And then as the credits are just winding down, they're just, it brought me right back. Like everybody with a lot of excitement for 3:00 in the afternoon on a Wednesday or Tuesday, whatever day. It was
exactly.
wild.
That's the perfect setting for it. And like, I will preface this by saying, like, I'm a huge Timothy girl. Like, I just love him.
If only we had Edwin on this episode, because Edwin specifically, he really hates the newest crop of young actors, and he really hates the twinkier they are, the more he hates them.
Oh my God, no, that's crazy. I was talking to my best friend and I both grew up in New York City together, and she was telling me that some friends of ours, like, they were all watching him on SNL together, and she realized over the course of watching SNL that they like did not ride hard for Timmy in the same way that she and I do. Yeah. And they were kind of like, we don't get it. Like, we don't get his whole thing. And I was like, his whole thing is being like a New York City teenager. Like, that's his whole vibe.
Yeah.
And like, that really works for me.
Obviously,
I thought, like,
he's great. I love him, because of
I love him. I think he's so talented.
I mean, he's already shown at such a young age the range that he can do, and he's going to be a fun one to just consistently keep watching.
Well, just the two roles he played this year are very different types of white male assholes. But they are white male assholes, but they're very
rising to power.
Very different in their portrayal and how that works. Because Bob does seem like he comes off like a real asshole in this movie. I feel
he is a real asshole in this.
Yeah, he is known to be a real asshole, I think, in real life too.
Yeah.
I know. Yeah.
No, and I have. There were, and like, I admittedly definitely know the least about Bob Dylan of like my whole family who I saw it with, and so some of them were like, oh, and he really captured like just the exact way that Bob Dylan is an asshole, and I was like, great.
Cool, yeah.
I'm glad he nailed that for you.
Like, he was one I never saw live just because his voice started to really go. I don't know. Some people don't say that, but I never was interested in it because of that. So I just know really the hits. It's one of those artists, like, I know a lot of classic stuff, but that was one of the few that I hadn't really visited growing up. So it was interesting to hear a lot of those play out.
Yeah, I do think, I think, Connor, you started with this, that like having the narrow focus, or maybe Brian said this, of being, it's covering this phase and going in this like narrow arc of Dylan Goes Electric, and so you see him really rise in this folk scene, you know, and then, you know, I think there was some stuff that was really resonant of you grow up in sort of spaces that then expect you to stay the same, you know, and asking some of those questions too of, you know, I'm always kind of interested in like any sort of musician's story that delves into that stuff of sort of how much do they owe their fans. So I thought that was covered in a really interesting way in the movie of just, like that's an interesting question to me.
Because especially there's like parts towards the middle where it's like he's clearly just being an asshole, like when he's not playing like the hits on stage or whatever.
Right.
But then when you get to some of that stuff towards the end, you kind of get where he's coming from in a lot of ways. Where he's
totally,
just like, fuck this.
It's what Chapel Roan is currently dealing with and doing.
Totally. No, and people still, I mean, I think more than any other like art form, you know, people pay a lot of money to go see a musician, and then they're sitting there going like, I paid money to be here, do what I want you to do, you know. And so then when they're not doing that, they're pissed off, and you know, and I think sometimes rightfully so, like if someone's being a total asshole and being like, I'm not going to play anything, you know, it's like, I paid to see a concert, you know. But yeah.
My main exposure to Bob Dylan is there was a recurring joke they would do on the MTV sketch show The State, where like a character, I found an exchange online that someone wrote down where it's like a guy talking to his dad. He's like rebelling. It's Michael Showalter's character. He's like a kid who's rebelling. He's like, I don't know who Bob Dylan is, but I know he died of drugs. And then the dad being like, Doug, Bob Dylan is alive and well. I produced his last 4 albums. And they would keep making jokes that like characters who like kept thinking that Bob Dylan was dead.
Fantastic.
Which
it is sort of remarkable that he's still kicking.
I think that was the bit, is that they were like, doesn't it seem like he should be
he's on one of those lists, you know, where it's like, no, they've been gone a long time. Like there was that list that he definitely is very high up on for sure.
In terms of Oscar nominations, what's this nominated for? Timothy's nominated.
Movies nominated
for
as
Best
a whole.
Picture.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not gonna win that.
No.
I think it's criminal that James Mangold is nominated for Best Director for this.
I agree with you. Completely.
I think it is.
And I have a feeling it's because of Ford v Ferrari and him like kind of he became a next tier when he sort of got that fame. I don't agree with it. I can't stand him, but personally,
his directing is so. I mean, I think the directing is the weakest part of this movie.
I agree.
It's boring as shit. It looks like a play a lot of the time.
It's like, a lot of people looking at someone famous playing a famous song with a look on their face.
Totally.
Like,
The Johnny Cash stuff, especially that. I mean, because it was so minimal. But it was like you knew every time that was the moment the spotlight hit. The play stage.
Oh my god. Yeah. No, and there was one shot towards the very end where I like was like an out of body moment for me of just being like, come on, James, you know, where like Bob's like leaving the stage and then, you know, someone yells to him and he turns around and it's like all like a stack of 3 people like judging him like from various phases of his life. And I was like, this is too on the nose, James, you know, like I get it, you know, but I just like the directing felt so flat to me, and which I do think speaks to how talented Timothy is, because he's still not really
the performances
soared,
in
but
general, I think, are
absolutely
that's the best part of the movie.
Yes, definitely.
Edward Norton he impressed me. Like honestly, like I didn't recognize him initially. I'm like, oh shit, it's Ed Norton. Like he did a really good job just doing like a character out of his. I guess it could have been more of like a Wes Anderson-y type of thing, but like, you know, the most other version of that, you know, to the opposite extreme we've seen of that. But it was I dug it. I mean, I dug it, but I think if it wasn't for the music, I wouldn't even care about it.
Yeah.
You know, if it was just some random movie like that was just fictional, I wouldn't have cared anything about this. It was more just like, oh, that's a lot of songs.
I mean, it's big, like Pile On is like a very like James Mangold is like an industry guy, and like you know, the fact that it's like getting so much stuff, to be honest, like, and I'm like half and half on Mangold. Like he's like on that line where it's like, I don't really know if I would really call him an auteur. He's like a journeyman who has basically been lucky enough to be able to do like like some great projects with some great casts at like the right exact times, and then also a lot of other stuff that's very mid.
Yes.
But yeah. How horny and monstrous do we think Bob Dylan is in this movie? I would say compared to
He's pretty horny.
Yeah, well, I would say compared to some of the other horny monsters we're getting to tonight, maybe less.
Yeah, oh for sure.
I think he's low, I think he's lower on the list than the rest of the movies, but I do think that, there's a scene where they think the world's going to end, and then he and Joan Baez are just like in a stairwell together and no words are exchanged, and then they fuck. Yeah. And that's like that was a real horny scene.
Yeah, absolutely. That was
in a complimentary way. Yeah.
I mean, I read earlier today something about Timothy. He like had to put on 20 pounds for this one, and I'm like, that guy can throw on 20 pounds and still look, just incredible. Like not like he wasn't going to look terrible. Right, that's what I mean. Yeah, it still does. You're like, oh yeah, I saw that.
Well, the opposite is true. Is he had to lose like 15 pounds when he did Beautiful Boy, and like at one point, I forget what he was like telling in an interview. I forget which other actor or someone on set like went to the director and was like, "It's enough. He cannot." Maybe it was Steve Carell. Was like, "He cannot lose any more weight."
Yeah.
The machinist is he's becoming Memento 0.2, whatever. It's all happening.
He becomes that little fish from SpongeBob. That's dried up.
How do you guys feel about biopics in general? Like.
Kind of whatever. I feel like it always just
hit or miss.
They have to find like a focus because so many of them just don't even have a narrative. I think this one succeeds because it has a narrative. I think my favorite biopic ever is Ed Wood, and I think that succeeds because it finds a really strong narrative with like those 3 movies and his like couple relationships it focuses on. And then you get some where it's just like. I remember that Turing one, the Alan Turing one. I remember I saw that one.
Oh, yeah, Imitation Game. Like they showed that at school.
Yeah, I remember it was just a bunch of scenes. And I was like, okay, whatever. This sucks. Yeah, thumbs down.
Did you guys see Better Man?
No.
I didn't yet. No, I haven't seen it yet, but I've heard really good things. Is it?
It rocks. It totally rocks.
It rocks, huh? Okay.
It rocks way harder than A Complete Unknown, in my opinion.
Okay.
Interesting.
Maybe I'll have to see it. I don't know. It looks a little like I don't know.
I just don't want to feel those. I don't want to feel emotions. I'm looking I'm looking for substance emotions. Anora, that's the peak. I just feel like I don't really know much about it, but it feels like it's going to be one of those movies you're going to feel.
Yeah.
Yeah, you do, but it's also very fun.
Okay.
It's like undeniably fun. It is also there are feelings.
Yeah.
Yeah. Would you say that's your favorite musical of last year?
I mean, it might be. Like, I think in terms of, like, because I was not a huge Wicked fan. I liked it, but I didn't love it. But I think, like, my issues with it were that it didn't let the music, like, dictate doing something really, really fun with the filmmaking. And I do think Better Man, like, the DJ Rock sequence that's been all over online and stuff, like, is one of the best sort of montages I've ever seen, where it's like we move through an entire sort of like rise to fame through this one song. And like, it was just so smartly done and like so engaging. Yeah, I thought all the music sequences were really well done in it.
Wait, and I just realized, by the way, Better Man, that's the Robbie Williams one.
That's the Robbie Williams one.
I was completely thinking of that other one that Sebastian Stan is in.
A different man.
A Different Man. That's what I was thinking in my brain.
No. Different Man is funny.
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
That's really funny.
That was the one I wasn't sure about because I was like, oh, is it pulling at heartstrings to do this movie?
No.
It's not. It's not trying to be heartfelt. It's very cynical. Actually.
No, it's very cynical, very dark, very funny.
It's very
everything now makes sense because I love Robbie Williams. My brother was the biggest Robbie Williams fan, so like growing up.
Oh my god, you have to see Better Man.
You have to see it because you actually know who this guy is. You're like one of 3.
Oh yeah, no, and that's the thing. Like, I remember like he like literally one of his big shows, and I don't know, maybe it's in the movie where like the guy gets flown in with a helicopter and like just lifted down to the stage. Yeah, it was just like that kind of stuff where you're like, this dude is a legend. But yeah. it's one of those that's on my list, but kind of my brother stuff. So
Yeah.
but yeah. But yeah, I'm gonna check it out then. Now that I know what you're talking about.
Well, I'm done talking about Bob Dylan. If we want to move on to talking about the Babygirl. Everyone knows who I've got behind me. I'll give the summary of Babygirl, and I'll let or do you want to do Babygirl, Bri, and then I'll do Nightbitch, or vice versa?
Yeah, because I haven't seen Nightbitch since October.
Okay.
Was one because I saw it a long time ago.
You do Babygirl.
Can I just say that Nicole is just horny in this one?
Yeah.
It's really she finds she's a boss and decides to use that boss power, and she gets a young dude. Harris Dickinson.
What if a boss who sexually exploited their workers was a lady? A lady. And what if it was?
That is the question.
What if it was?
But weirdly, so you feel like this is I'm gonna just kind of go into the way I felt, because that's really what it is. It's a horny woman finding a young dude.
Yeah.
And I love that she was powerful, and I expected it to be like, I wanted her to like own that doing this, versus it being like, actually no, my kink is to be like super duper submissive and like, please, like, I don't know, I just feel like it was a trope we've seen before, because it was almost in that like old fashioned, she was just looking for a dominant dude basically to kind of take her down, and I would have rather kind of not had that approach. That was the thing where like once we hit to that point in the movie where I realized, oh, that's what we're gonna do the rest of the time. Like, I was sort of let down on us a little bit.
I liked it quite a bit. I really think that if what was here was shrunk into the first 2 acts, and they had a 3rd act that pushed it even further, it would be like one of my 5 favorite movies of the year, because I really love the performances and the tone and the vibe, and like the way it like kind of played with some of that stuff. I thought was really interesting and very. And
I think everything was really good. Like, I guess performances. It was more just narratively where I was like, oh, that's the direction. And but that was more just my choice. Like my preferences, I guess. On that, nothing wrong with the movie. Like, I get why people love it. I really do enjoy it.
Yeah.
But we do need to the one thing we just need to talk about also is why there was no Nicole trailer prior.
Yeah.
Like, there's a big conspiracy. This is fucking crazy.
Didn't play her thing in front of her big movie. It made me so mad.
And you were in Texas. I think Daniel saw another place. I saw it up here, and we were all.
That's crazy.
I was in the land of Alamo draft houses, and to be fair, I would have had to pay money also going there, and I didn't for AMC. So, but like, unlike in LA where there's like one tiny one downtown, I was in Austin where there's like 30 Alamo draft houses. They're like the major, and I chose to go to AMC to see this because I was like, I gotta see. You want to see Nicole introduce her new big movie. And they took this from me.
That's
it was just
terrible.
Weird. It was weird.
I didn't know that. I didn't see it in theaters, so I
went like an opening night, so it was a sold out crowd kind of vibe, and everybody, you feel the energy just suck out real quick and be like, but then she like came in and did her thing, so it was like we kind of forgot, obviously, but it was just weird.
But this is made with laser light, blah blah blah, doesn't have the same impact.
And they were still doing the Sonic the Hedgehog 3 Don't Talk.
Oh yeah.
Oh God, really setting the mood.
So no Nicole, but I did get to hear Ben Schwartz and Keanu Reeves telling me not to talk at the movies. But yeah.
I really enjoyed this. Mm-hmm. I feel, I guess, kind of, I hadn't thought about it like that, Connor, but I do think if it had pushed itself like 10% more, even kind of like into somewhere crazier, I would have like been totally over the moon about it. I mean, I really enjoyed it, but I do think I left it not being like, oh fuck yeah, I loved that movie so much, but being like, oh, I really enjoyed that. I really liked that movie. There were certain parts of it that I loved, like the father figure sequence. I loved.
Yeah.
Like their first hotel scene, I thought was beautiful. I thought I thought him. Blair Witching it. It was great. Here, wait, I think you guys will appreciate this. I did a little, it doesn't quite work because my cat wasn't in the corner, but she was right face up against the heater this morning, and I did a little Babygirl edit.
That's amazing. That's amazing. I would watch that one like over and over.
But yeah, I think I would have loved it going a bit harder on all aspects. I do think, and a lot of people have complained about that in terms of the, like, you know, her fantasies weren't that crazy or, you know, whatever. And I was talking to Connor, I was talking to Max Sokolov about it. And that was kind of his complaint too. And I do think, like, what I will say is, one, I do think the thing of, I mean, I know that Nicole and Helena, like, have both in interviews talked about, like, they really came up with, like, these fantasies and what she wanted to do together. So I do think, like, a woman, like, of that age who has, like, never let herself, like, engage in any of these things, like, anything that's, like, sort of a diversion from the norm, like, feels really transgressive.
Yeah.
You know, so, like, even I think that thing of being like, oh, well, like, her fantasies weren't even that crazy. You know, it's like, yeah, but also the idea of acting on any fantasies is really extreme for this character. So the fantasy is even just cheating on the husband, you know, is like risking the family, risking the career, like that in and of itself is sort of this, like, major deviance.
For sure.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
I didn't have an issue with the specific fantasies not going far enough. I wanted like the plot, and you know what I mean, to like.
I wanted the plot to go
like,
a little deeper.
To complicate a couple more times towards the end, because there's a specific moment that I wish, if this had been the midpoint, like the moment where the three of them confront at the summer house and what happens there happens. I'll just go ahead. I'll throw up a spoiler tag just to be extra careful. Bing. Basically, they have the big confrontation. Antonio Banderas, Nicole Kidman, and Harris Dickinson, and Antonio Banderas starts to have a panic attack, and Nicole Kidman tries to comfort him, and he's like, doesn't want to be touched by her, but then Harris Dickinson does, and they have like a very
does his dog thing.
A very nice embrace, and like I wish, you know what I mean, like, I don't know, there's something interesting, like getting things even more complicated that would have been interesting. Like, this is the bad quick version of it, but if like Antonio Banderas had developed a relationship with him or something, I don't know. But I don't know.
I thought stuff at work could have been pushed further as well.
Yeah.
Like, this is still in the spoiler zone, but you know, like when the assistant tells her, like, I know what's going on with you, I had this moment of confusion of being like, wait, did he tell her? Or did, like, she just had seen them together and, you know, Nicole wasn't being, like, as subtle as she thought she was. Yeah. But, like, I almost wish and then the guy later who's, like, kind of hitting on her at work, like, I wish we'd gone more into that almost, you know, like, of that thing of, because I think that's such a true thing too, of like when you are doing something where you're misbehaving in this way and you're thinking like, I'm totally nailing this, nobody knows what's going on, you know, and then this thing of actually finding out, like, in this horrible moment of shame and embarrassment that, like, everyone in the office knows, everyone in the office is talking about it, like, all the guys are going to try to make a move on you now. Like, I think that twist on things, like, could have gotten to like a weirder, juicier spot to just.
They feint at that a little bit with like her like boss or somebody kind of making like a weird pass at her towards the end.
Exactly, but that's like already, like, they almost just use that to show like she's had an arc, because look, arced. Now she's like, I'll pay for it, you know. But I think it would have been really interesting to see, and also because it seemed like her kink was kind of in this realm of like being shamed, you know, and like being kind of dominated and embarrassed, that like if she had been actually kind of embarrassed at work, I think that would have been really interesting to see, like, oh, it like works in this one setting, and then here's sort of the line, you know, of like, it's not cool to do if I'm not asking for it, you know? So yeah, I thought it could have gone to a couple more interesting places. I loved the end with the like cutting back and forth to Harris back in the hotel room.
I'm forgetting the exact what you're talking about.
With the dog, where he's like basically doing their scene again, but with the dog.
Oh yes.
That I loved.
Yeah, I loved one of my favorite things outside the movie was that Actors on Actors with Nicole and Zendaya, where she was talking about reading the title and just being like, I want to be Babygirl.
Yeah.
And how horny and monstrous is Babygirl, the eponymous Babygirl? I would say hornier than Bob.
Definitely.
And
not that monstrous.
Not that in real life, she would be more monstrous than she is in the actual movie. You know what I mean?
Yes. She'd be like way cuntier. Yeah.
Yeah, but in the context of the movie, her actions are broadly okay.
Yes.
By the end, things are fine.
Yes.
So I would say higher on the hornier scale, lower on the monster scale than Bob Dylan, maybe.
Maybe. But, you know, her monstrosity wasn't really, it was left kind of unexamined in terms of the work side of things. Like, if she's essentially female Jeff Bezos, like, we should be looking, you know, like, there could have been a whole other plot line to this movie of being like, oh, and by the way, you've put hundreds of thousands of people out of work and are like one of the people who's chiefly like responsible for the job crisis in America.
She just wants to be stepped on.
She just wants to drink milk out of a little plate.
Yeah. Well, that's Babygirl.
That's Babygirl.
That's Babygirl for you. Now it's time to talk about Nightbitch. And Nightbitch is a movie about Amy Adams as a mom, and being a mom sucks, and so she starts thinking she's a dog sometimes. Yeah, I don't really know how else to describe it. It doesn't have like a lot of plot. It's got huge based on a novel vibes because it is based on a novel. But I was watching it and 10 minutes in I was like, oh, this is based on a fucking book. And I think you can tell that whatever made this novel good was probably how it was written and not like what the actual plot and shit was. And I feel like they probably didn't really translate that, because this is one of the more like, all right, sure movies I've seen of 2024. But I don't know, what do y'all think?
Yeah, I saw it back at Beyond Fest in September or October or whatever, and I just walked out. That was one of the least favorite things for sure. And I love Amy Adams, you know, so I was really excited for her. And her performance is fine. She's great in it, because it's like, but she just doesn't have a ton to work with. And the way without spoiler, the ending and the way it just felt very tic-tac-toe writing and structuring, and despite having a super weird ass potential theme, and it just doesn't really explore the weirdness enough by any stretch.
Yeah, there was some of it that I mean, this is kind of true of all of these movies. There was some of it I really loved. Like, I thought the beginning actually was so strong, like that opening kind of montage of mom life, like got me in so fast of just like, wow. I mean, and I think that first thing too of I forget what the first interaction, in the grocery store where she like wants to, you see the version where it's like she wants to say this, but then what she does say is the sort of like, yeah, being a mom's great. And so basically like up till the, you know, title card, I was like, I'm loving this. Like I totally get what she's putting down. And then I think some of the novel bits like started to shine through a bit more, where it was like, we're relying on this like voiceover. We're also like kind of inconsistently monologuing to camera. Like there was just some of that stuff where I was like, yeah, you know, like I have friends who love this book. A lot of people love this book, I'm sure is for that voice, getting some of that voice through the voiceover, through the monologues and stuff. But like, I am always sort of off put by that in a movie.
Yeah. I think, I mean, probably the better way to adapt this was try to figure out a way to get that voice to come across in ways that weren't the VO, because I think that like that voice is probably what made the novel so good. And not, you know, because I think that with Brian and I, and maybe even you, Daisygreen, but we would have been more into a movie that like actually was less of a sort of slice of life, you know. I don't know if this is the right pejorative to use, but New Yorker style, sort of like being playful with how we're describing things, versus if it had been an actual like capital G genre movie where it had actually explored the idea of like, what if she was turning into a dog sometimes? Because the movie really isn't actually exploring that idea. It doesn't care. That's all symbolism and all that kind of stuff. I don't think it really like means anything to the plot, essentially, which is fine. But I almost wonder if a version of this movie that's a little campier and a little more of a horror movie would have been a better adaptation.
I mean, I could totally see that. I do think, I think campier would have really, really worked, because for me, there were parts of it that I just like wish had really gone there. And that it felt like it kept kind of kept almost going there. Some of it kind of did go there, but like where I would have been really into like being sort of scared of her, you know, and being like more kind of terrified that you're going through this change and she's losing her humanity and she's never gonna get that back.
Or from her POV, like playing with the body horror of it more, of like her body changing and not ever being able to be the same because of this thing, you know. I will say it is always like, there is like a big energy of like when people with kids are like, man, it's so tough. And it's like, buddy, you chose to have them. Like, what the fuck are you telling me for? Like,
although I thought they did a really great job. There was so much in this movie that I thought was so well shown of like, I do think in terms of like the relationship between her and the husband and this like inequitable parenting was so well shown. Like where I just was like, I 100% get how frustrated she is, why she's so frustrated. And I thought the scene when he's having a like where the kid, you know, throws the spaghetti on the floor and he's like shocked, you know, that it's like you can't turn your back on this kid for 1 second or he'll like wreck your whole living room, you know, is like, I thought that was so great. Like where it was really, you can just totally see that like this dad doesn't get how much of herself she's given to this kid. And like, I've spoken to some, you know, I have a lot of new mom friends, and it's interesting talking to them about how that, like, one of the big things that they've all talked about is like, it was actually really great getting back to work, or like finding the things that are like, how do I feel like just me again and not just this kid's mom? And obviously like that's the whole thing of this movie is like, how do I be a person again and not just this mom. Like monstrous mother. Like mother as werewolf kind of. So I thought, you know, it was like I'm usually in the camp of like, I wish they'd turned the volume up like
Yeah.
a little bit louder.
That's a good Weird Al needle drop. I like that. And yeah, it's kind of like a less good Babadook in certain ways.
Sure.
But
I mean, yeah, that's a really interesting comparison.
I actually, while I was watching it, was also thinking about the Babadook because I struggle sometimes. I'm like a very literal viewer.
Yeah.
So if people are showing me that like this woman is turning into a dog, I'm like, yes, physically this woman is turning into a dog. You know, like why aren't we talking about it? She's turning into a dog. So the Babadook is one of those for me too, where like, then when everybody's like, it's just a metaphor, it's about grief, I'm like, what? I thought there was a monster in that house. But I think that is really great when it is something that's like so clear and well done. That's like, it works either way. Like it works if there really is a monster in the basement, and it works if it is just a metaphor for grief. And I feel like this worked as a metaphor for motherhood.
Yeah.
I didn't think it quite worked if she is also literally turning into a dog, you know?
Yeah. She should have been actually, it should have been actually about her turning into a dog. They should have taken all the good stuff in this movie and all the good stuff in that Wolfman movie that just came out and made one movie. And it would have been like great.
Julia Garner as a mother of like a 12-year-old in that movie.
I like Julia Garner, but terribly miscast.
I was so confused watching the trailer for that. I was like, this single father and his 2 kids. And then at one point she's like revealed to be the mom. And I was like, this is math. That is absolutely bonkers.
Like, I'm sure, I think in real life, like her and that dude, I think, probably aren't that far apart in age, but they just read so differently, you know? Like she does not read like if she had to have been like Mama Bear to like an infant, that maybe would have worked, you know?
Yes.
She can read as like a new mother, like a Rosemary's Baby age type new mother, but like
totally
not
mother
as,
of a preteen. No
fucking way. She looks more like an 18-year-old than someone's mom, 12-year-old.
Yes, correct.
How horny and or monstrous do we think Nightbitch is? I feel like she could have been way more monstrous, like literally.
Could have been way more monstrous.
Physically monstrous, and only moderately horny. I think our least horny
moderately
monster.
horny.
Yeah.
This is the least of the we talked about for sure.
Yeah. But I think it's time to move on. Whoa, I turned my video off like a fucking idiot because I was clicking a button near it. Scott, can you tell us the plot of Dracula? Of Nosferatu, I mean. Sorry.
I guess if you really want. A woman, actually as a child, awakens a horny beast, and once she gets married, about, I don't know, 10, 15, 20 years later, he wants her back. It's a remake of the 1920s original, and from Robert Eggers. And it's not that plot heavy, honestly.
It's Dracula.
It's Dracula, but a little different. Sadder, not as much of an adventure.
What did y'all think about this one?
I think we should let Brian go first.
Yeah,
I'm kind of looking for the reverse. I want to know you all and what I'm working against.
Okay,
here.
all right. Well, I will say hi, everyone. By the way,
Scott.
Connor has rudely interrupted my suits time, but I will make do. Brian and I saw this with a few friends, not through Beyond Fest, like about 2 to 3 weeks before it came out.
Okay.
And I remember being in that screening, and like I was enjoying the movie, but I was definitely not like loving it on a visceral level that I could feel the audience loving it on. Like, and just like, even when it was over, it was like, masterpiece, that was amazing. And I kept kind of quiet. And it wasn't even like, because I knew people were going to be like, what didn't you like about it? Did you not like it? I want to be very clear. I liked it.
Yeah.
But I just did not love it. I remember thinking it was, I was like, oh, it's just Nosferatu. It's a new Nosferatu. It's very well done. The movie I compared it to was Peter Jackson's King Kong, in that, like, oh, it was clear that this guy had been making this movie in his head for years. This wildly talented filmmaker who finally put it on screen, and I thought he did amazing. That being said, I saw it then about a month later when I got like first week of January on IMAX, and seeing it again and being a little bit more prepared for what it was, I think I did appreciate it better. In that, like, just like, the story is the story. Yes, it is Nosferatu, but it's pretty well done Nosferatu, pretty fucking amazing Nosferatu. And I'd like to see it again. I think the craftsmanship in itself is worth enjoying, and so that's my stance.
I would actually, there's like a part of that I would really agree with, which is that, because like I feel generally similar, which is like beautifully made. But like the Northman, it kind of left me cold. Whereas I love The Lighthouse.
Sure, yeah,
that's like my favorite of his movies. But I do also think like it's so well made and it's such a good version of this that if I was talking to someone and for some reason they've never watched like a traditional Dracula or Nosferatu story, I'd be like, well, watch this one. It's really good. Like, and you basically get the general like old school version of the Nosferatu thing, you know. But I like the part where Dracula boat happened. I think it would have been cool if in the middle of the movie it had just cut to that other movie. But
on the new 4K, it actually stops and says, "Now please go rent Last Night."
Last Voyage of
yeah, and then please come back to watch this.
Yeah, I saw this with my family.
Oh yeah.
From the only tickets that were left were in the very front row, so it was like a very intense viewing experience. My dad fell asleep.
Can I just say that's my dad going to see any movie too? Like,
oh yeah.
just...
My mom complained the whole time about how dark it was, and then all my stepmom could talk about after we left was like, I don't understand why they had to take a boat back. Like, he got there the first time on a horse, so where was the boat coming from when he comes back on the boat? I don't get it. So they were stuck on some logic things. I enjoyed it the most of my family because I think I really was like, yeah, I get this. Like, I get that the like horny monster of this, and also I have not seen the original Nosferatu or any of the, Dracula stories or anything. And like, I don't know if this is part of all of them, but I do think that thing of the like, monstrous, like latent female sexuality being like, is it a monster? Like that being part of what people are reading into this movie that I was also kind of seeing, of being like, is this monster really happening, or is she just like horny out of her mind? And I like dug that as a take. I actually had a hard time with a lot of the performances.
Oh, really?
Like, I thought Aaron Taylor Johnson was like, I got his performance, like that we were not really supposed to like him, but I was a bit like, it did feel like everyone was in a slightly different movie to me. I thought Bill Skarsgård was like off doing his whole own thing. I couldn't kind of deal with his accent as Nosferatu. I like some of those choices. I was like, why did we make this choice for the monster?
I love all of that stuff. I've loved, that's been my favorite thing of it has been like the memes where it's like I want you to bounce on it.
No, yeah, like his accent is crazy. Why does he have a mustache? Why does his body look like that? You know, like there's a lot of stuff that I was a little bit like, huh. But there was also a lot of it that I really liked. And I did like that everyone just felt like they were kind of slowly losing their mind. And she was like, it's fine, guys. I got this. I'm going to kill him with my sex, you know.
I think the mustache is like to make him look like Vlad the Impaler and stuff. And
Yeah, no, definitely.
Maybe.
which
Because he went into Robert Eggers went through a whole thing about how the influence he took it from.
Yeah.
I mean, he's
because he's always
Everything
trying to
about
do
Bill
that.
Scott, yeah. Everything about Bill Skarsgård in that movie felt the most like Robert Eggers to me.
Yeah.
Like
Sure.
that was like the most him being just like, yeah, it's gonna be, yeah, sure, it's a vampire, but it's like the weirdest fucking vampire you've ever seen.
The weirdest, like fleshiest vampire. Why is he so wet? His skin is so wet.
He's using baby oil.
Yeah.
That's where Diddy got it from. We also unfortunately have to, not unfortunately, I mean kind of making a facetious joke, but we have to open the door. We have to let another Nepo baby in because Lily Rose Depp was very good in this.
I thought she was very good. Yeah.
And it's like, okay, well, I mean, we've had this conversation on here before. It's like, oh, who would have figured? You got handsome parents and that are good at acting, so you're handsome and good at acting. Like, who could have fucking guessed?
her audition tape is worth watching for this because it was like a Zoom type of audition tape or something.
Really?
It was like really good. Like immediately you could tell, like, yeah, that's why they cast her.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I thought she was great. And I love Nicholas Hoult, so I was.
He's been really doing a lot lately. He did a lot of good things.
He was in
he was great.
He was in like 15 movies last year, like Nicholas Hoult.
Yeah,
like, he was in so many fucking movies.
Was Ramfield last year?
No, that was the year before.
No, it was 2 years ago.
Okay, I was gonna say, like, did he do 2 vampire? Like, he wasn't really Ramfield in this one, but like just the idea that he played 2 vampire movies, quite different, but.
Yeah,
a little tonally different.
Yeah.
So wait, Brian, are you like a huge Nosferatu fan, or do you hate it?
I'm a huge Robert Eggers fan. Yeah. I think that's the biggest thing is like, so I loved the film. I thought it was amazing. And it's a big part of it is because I love his filmmaking and I love Jaron Blaschke, the DP he's used for everything, did another brilliant job filming this one. So I think for me, I'm not any like Dracula and Nosferatu stand by any stretch. Like I've seen the original. I got to see it a few months back all done with Radiohead music, which was kind of wild, but cool to see. And I like the story, but I'm not like this is my thing, and I need to see this. It was more about the filmmaking aspect of that, and I think I'm very happy to hear that Robert Eggers is like, I don't ever want to film a phone like a cell phone. Like he wants to just consistently do they're just super old school phones, and I love it just because of the amount of research and what he does to the authenticity of his films that are just. I'll always be that. So it's kind of hard because I don't want to. Like I almost like to kind of hear everyone else's opinion with this one, just because of that reason. Is I know I'm marking out in a way like we've all marked out to David Lynch. Yeah. Which, funny enough, that was my favorite thing that I will say, which was super Lynchian to me. I love that whole carousel sequence. That was so unbelievably gorgeous, and the way that door opened up with that sound design, it reminded me of like an Eraserhead. It reminded me of something like very Lynchian, and just that mood of it felt like that super atmospheric, like. The factory element of Eraserhead where you're just walking through that. It was interesting. But I loved it. I loved Skarsgård. I thought he was incredible. I was a big fan of whatever this take is compared to what I've seen. But again, it's the big thing is marking out to Eggers for sure.
I think it's like I think it's like with this and both with this and the Northman, it's like I can't really specifically talk about. There's like nothing specific I can latch on to as like great criticisms that I have. It's more so that they're just like there's something about I can't hear the music or something, that these movies are playing.
Well, that's what it is. It's all things that are more like preferences that I'm hearing. That's why again I wanted to almost hear everyone what you guys were saying, just because there are things that I'm like, yeah, it works for some, it doesn't for others, and I think that's a big one with this movie in general.
The cats. I liked the cats.
The
cats are amazing. Honestly, on my Kindle, I so desperately, and I was a little too late on it now, but I wanted to have the cat on the back label.
Yeah, Bri.
But I couldn't find any.
He's making a candle.
I have a.
You showed up.
Yeah, actually.
I do
Box
think
and
like
all.
I would definitely. Oh wow. I would definitely want to see this again because I also think like it was so visually beautiful, but I was also watching it like from this angle.
Yeah, that's hard.
Yeah.
See, I've seen it like 6 times. You know, like the second time I got to see it was on Christmas Day at the New Beverly on 35, like second row middle. So I've had really good experiences seeing it, and I think each time I went back and saw it, I would find things about the filmmaking aspect that I love more. And I don't know, maybe anything that I may have had issues with along the way just went out the window because of how much I was just mesmerized by the film itself.
Like I said, anytime in the future I'm meeting someone and they're like, oh, I've never really seen a Dracula story, I'm 100% would put this on, like, because it's a really great version of it. It does a good job for the most part of like updating it, especially with like the female sexuality stuff. I would say the stuff that doesn't age well is the fact that like the movie hinges on a plague and the answer is not science, but is instead a bunch of horseshit. That's something I was like thinking about, like, but it's fine. It's like not.
And if this is a spoiler territory or not, I'm sorry, but this one sequence got me insanely happy in a disturbing way. But the murders when they were murdering the family, I mean, I'm sorry, but like they cast the 2 most obnoxious children in the existence of children to make it so that kill was like, you know, I'm kind of glad that her head just got ripped off like that. It was just like the craziest shit in a way that I really appreciate. So.
Yeah. I had no idea I would love a scene of like walking into a mausoleum and seeing like a dead man dead on his wife's body after having sex with her corpse, like being so like, this rocks. Like,
and then when they all find, they're like, oh damn, he did it.
Yeah,
it was great.
I think there's a lot to love in this.
But like I said, I didn't see this and then all of a sudden run out to go like, oh, I gotta watch everything Dracula, everything. You know, I'm good with what this is. You know, like I don't need to jump on. I'm not buying books. I'm not doing anything like that.
Nosferatu 3.
Yeah, exactly.
But
I do think there's something really interesting in the sort of like vampire space of like vampires have become so horny. Right. As like I would say of all of the kind of creatures, they are usually the horniest.
Yeah. That's
but they're also usually so hot. Dracula's always been really horny.
Yeah. Dracula's always been horny. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. He always kidnaps somebody.
He's always about like smooth. He's always like sucking your, ladies' necks and stuff. And,
sure.
Yeah.
But I did think it was interesting, given how horny he is, that he's so grotesque. Like that the physical choice for him is actually, let's take a very handsome man and make him almost impossible to look at because he's like, he's not respecting the balance of the substance, like, and like, I thought that was a really interesting choice given that he is like, a smooth, horny guy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, this is definitely a Dracula. This is definitely a, whatever. This is definitely a Dracula that can't just like walk around. It can, like, I know in Francis Ford Coppola, there's that sequence where like Gary Oldman's Dracula is like walking around like a fair or some sort of party or something.
Yeah.
This Count Orlok in here could not do that. He would
no.
I
He cannot show up to the function.
Yeah.
I was wondering if that was going to happen because like, in Dracula, he starts out kind of old and grotesque, like Gary Oldman is, and then now he eats somebody, and then he like pops out of the coffin, and now he looks like Gary Oldman. Okay. So I wasn't sure if
early
they
90s
were going to go.
Gary Oldman specifically.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah. Being like he pops out of the coffin, he looks like Gary Oldman, hot.
Yeah, I guess I should be specific. Yeah, no, he looks like a guy from Oppenheimer. You guys don't want to get that? He's like, yeah, tell him off, Mr. President.
He looks like the Colonel. He looks like the KFC Colonel.
You guys aren't attracted to Churchill because that's exactly who he looked like.
Yeah. No, it does actually make me want to see maybe some other versions just to be like, I do think it's fascinating whenever there's one type of story like this, like these really old stories that get told and retold and retold and retold, of just like, what are the different pieces that people are like taking away from them, of like, this is at the core of it for me, or this is at the core of it for me. Like, I do think that's really fun.
I haven't seen the 70s version, the Werner Herzog version, but a friend of mine's seen all of them, and what they said was that like this movie felt like a remake of the 70s one, but the look of it was based on the original one.
Interesting.
Because like the original one, watching it definitely doesn't hit as much on like the sexuality. He you know, there's like the like beckoning, but you know, certainly not as hard as this. But apparently the 70s one does lean into that more.
A movie I've seen.
Shocking.
And don't remember. I've seen it years and years and years ago, and I don't really remember it super well. I remembered it enough that when I was watching this, I was like, oh yeah, so Nosferatu.
You know, for Monday Night Movies, one like series I've always wanted to do, but there's like A Star Is Born, to watch like all 4 versions.
They're fun
for a month, and I think another fun version of that would be the Nosferatu.
Yeah,
and that might be more Monday Night Movie appropriate, but like some summer to like just, you know, like watch all 3 in a row. Yeah.
The Star Is Borns are fun. I have only not seen one of them.
Same. Yeah.
Do we have a lot else to say about Nosferatu? I guess lastly, we've been doing this thing, Scott. I've been asking them how horny and or how monstrous we think these horny monsters are, and I feel like Nosferatu's taken the top prize on both.
Oh, definitely.
I'd say
definitely. Yeah.
He's definitely,
the way he was body rolling on top of Nicholas Hoult. That is the horniest.
Oh yeah.
Sex act in any of the films that we're talking about.
Not only that, he refers to himself as an appetite. Like that's fucking horny, man. That's like, you know, that was actually probably my favorite when we watched the movie the first time. That scene, that first like encounter between him and was probably my favorite scene, where I was like, oh man, like I remember that hitting me in the way of going like, man, if this whole movie was hitting me this way, I would love it right now.
Yeah,
I do love the shot with the eyes. How that felt very old school to me, like especially like a throwback to like the initial the 1921 version, like the way like when he Nicholas Hoult cut himself at the table, and then it just close up shot of his eyes. Unbelievable shot. So cool.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to feed all the stuff we said into the computer. And it looks like our worst fears have been realized. The core of the planet has stopped spinning. And
oh man.
Trump stopped that earlier, actually. Sorry, that was his thing.
Disrupted the magnetic fields. And the only way we're going to be able to put things right is to play Connor's Wicked Games, sponsored by Chris Isaac. Every week, like Jigsaw, I like to play a little game. This week, who and what and when and who else too? The sequel to the game that everyone's talking about. I'm going to read 2 character names that were played by the same actor the same year. I'm going to give you all an example. You'll have to guess the actor, 2 movies in the year. Each of theirs is worth 1 point. 1 person at a time will get a chance. We'll keep going until they goof, and we'll continue to the next person. And then everyone will get to wager on how many other collaborators. I kind of changed the rules from last time. The 2 movies share. Range is 0 to 80. This will be worth 2 points. And then for some of these, I'll maybe let y'all guess specific collaborators. So, like, for instance... here's the example one I'm going to give that no points is I could say Paul Mahdi Atreides and Bob Dylan, and these were of course portrayed both by Timothée Chalamet in Dune Part 2 and A Complete Unknown 2024, and there are 4 other collaborators. I'm using IMDb Advanced Search. There was
4 other collaborators, meaning like 4 other
people on Advanced
connections.
Search.
Between those 2 films.
Yeah, between those 2 films. Yeah. But you wouldn't know any of these names. They're just like
Right. It's like gaffers.
Yeah, 100%.
Okay.
But we will start with
gaffers apparently.
You guys don't I
two
memorize
films with
every
4
single
gaffers
credits
each.
when I see it. So I know.
Dolly tracks are just never going to be laid again out of this
like,
one.
hey, Mike's back.
Daisygreen, I'm going to give you Friedrich Harding and Craven the Hunter.
Is it Aaron Taylor Johnson?
It is. And what are those two movies?
One is Craven. Is the full title Craven the Hunter?
Yes.
Okay, I have no idea what the other one is.
Do you want to guess the year?
Oh, is it Nosferatu?
It is Nosferatu.
Okay. I was like, what else did I see him in recently?
And then that was the one thing you called out too, like, oh, this character specifically.
Yeah, specifically him in this movie wasn't my favorite. Yeah, that's why I blocked out his name. Year was 2024.
All right, and let me look at these other collaborators that it has. None of these are really significant. So how many, you get to make a wager, like I said, 0, and everyone's gonna get to do this part. 0 through 100. How many other collaborators do you think this movie had? 0 to 80. 6. Scott?
9.
Bri?
3.
Those 2 points go to Scott because it was 8.
Wow.
So pretty close. Let's see. Oh, I'm messing this up. Scott, Anna Harding, and Cassandra Nova.
I can't. So I have to say the actors first, right?
Well, you can do. I've changed that part. You can do it in any order. The movies, the year, and all that stuff.
It was Deadpool and Wolverine and Nosferatu, and 2024, and Emma Cording.
I'm gonna give you it because it's you know what, it's an official cinema curse. Close enough. How many?
Hell yeah!
No D.
Yeah, it's Corin.
Corin. All right.
And if you had said like Emma Stone, I would have been like, no. But the fact that it was basically like one letter away.
It was Lily Rose Depp.
And how many other collaborators do you think these two movies shared?
3.
All right, Bri?
9.
And I'm just gonna go ahead and give the points to Bri because they got it right on the money. It's exactly 9.
Wow.
Knew that.
So, Bri, how about this one?
Yeah.
Wow Platinum and Older Elliot.
I do not. Oh, okay. So I have to name one of the actors in the movie, or
you name the actor who played these 2 roles, and
right.
This actor played these 2 roles in 2 different movies the same year.
It's Macy Stella for sure, and it's My Old Ass, and I can't think of her other.
Are we doing?
Can I steal?
Yeah, I gotta. I'm gonna give you the My Old Ass Bri point, but I gotta let Daisygreen steal.
Is it Aubrey?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to give that to Daisygreen. I'm sorry. And
I just it's cool.
And do you know?
I was thinking of her, but I didn't think she did anything else this year.
The other movie in the year.
It's Megalopolis. Aubrey Plaza.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
That's it.
And
she is the titular old ass in
and how many people?
And she is Wow Platinum.
She is Wow Platinum.
They made that very clear in the marketing. Aubrey Plaza is Wow Platinum.
One of the best names in the movie. One of the only part of the movie I really liked consistently. I'm gonna give you the year because obviously it was just last year. And how many other collaborators do we think those 2 movies shared?
I'll say 4.
Daisygreen?
I'll say 10.
Scott?
I'm gonna go on 80. This is the one where like definitely everybody left Francis Ford Coppola's, and then
That's actually
Go
a good
work
point.
on my old ass.
That's true.
I got enough of this shit. I gotta get paid. This guy's weird.
Well, congrats, Scott, because you couldn't be more wrong. This is, in fact, the only one that's 0. So Pride gets
I
it.
probably would have been closer. I should have. Yeah.
Where did they shoot? Where'd they shoot Megalopolis? Do you know?
I don't know, a green screen.
On location. On location at Megalopolis, I believe.
Sure, of course.
Do I
This one's for you,
On the
Daisy
moving
Green.
walkways at airports. Yeah.
Clyde Logan and Kylo Ren. Oh, I should also say, you'll notice a theme. I wrote this when this episode and last episode were supposed to be the same episode.
The same,
So
yeah,
you'll
yeah,
notice
yeah.
the theme with these actors in terms of the movies we talked about this episode and last episode. And also, some of these are hangovers from when I wrote this months ago for the first episode. So you'll notice 1 or 2 that are like, huh? This actor isn't associated, but it'll, anyway, Daisy Green.
Okay. I know it's Adam Driver.
Yep.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know what Clyde Logan is, so I don't know which of the Star Wars it would be.
I need you to
'cause
guess.
I can't place the year. I think someone else is gonna. Well, oh, is it from Logan Lucky?
Correct.
Nice.
And can you guess
Okay.
which Star
Oh.
Wars and or the year?
Star Wars. Is it Return of? No. Which is the one that was the Ryan Johnson? Not Ryan. Yeah, the Ryan Johnson one.
I don't know. I need a name.
I don't know.
I need a name or a
I don't know
number.
the names.
Um,
I don't know the names.
Not sure.
What?
Huh?
I thought, are we just yelling it out, or we otherwise I'm just
We- we-
awarding Scott more
Can we
points?
steal?
We were gonna specifically go around, but I'll
see.
go. You know what? We'll switch direction every 3 questions.
Oh.
Okay. So, Bri, yes, it is Last Jedi. Do you know the year?
Last Jedi. That was-
2017.
Correct. And how many other collaborators do we think that this movie has?
I'll say 9 again.
Scott?
14.
Daisy Green?
4.
Goes to Daisy Green because it was 1. There was
Nice. Who was it?
hold on, let me
The Gaffer.
I accidentally deleted that part of the information, so we'll never know.
We'll never know. Wow.
Bri, how about husband and Woody Guthrie?
Oh, damn. Well, I can't think of the actor's name. Shit. Well, I got the movie is complete unknown. I don't know what the other one is. Guessing something from 2024.
Yep. It's gonna go to Scott because of the new direction we're going. So Scott, can you guess the other movie and or the actor's name?
Was that Edward Norton who plays Woody Guthrie in that one?
Nope. Daisy Green.
Shit.
It's Scoot McNairy and the other movie's Nightbitch.
Yes, it is. In fact, Scoot McNairy. The other movie is in fact Nightbitch. 2 of the movies we talked about tonight. Old Scoot scooting around between 2 movies. How many other collaborators do we think these 2 movies shared?
I'm gonna go 6.
Bri?
I'm just saying 9 again.
5.
It goes to Daisy Green. It was 7. Nobody, like the most. It does it by like popularity on IMDb. The other collaborators, and the most next is like a casting person without a picture. So,
Nice.
And then let me see. We got one. Okay. Forgetting where we are in the cycles of everything. I think we're at the beginning of a new cycle. Oh no, we're not. So yeah, it is. Sorry, my brain is breaking. Scott, Harvey Milk and himself.
Sean Penn?
That is indeed Sean Penn. Can you name either of those movies or the year? Also, Sean Penn was the producer of September 5. That's why he's in here.
Okay. Was the year 2010?
No, I'm gonna have to move on to Daisy
Okay.
Green.
Right.
I know one of the movies is Milk.
Yes.
2009?
Bri, any guess on the year or the other movie?
It's either 2008 or 2009. I'm just trying to think of. I remember where I was.
It definitely wasn't 2009 because I didn't give her the point.
Okay, 2008 then. Then it's Milk for sure. Okay, yeah.
And do you know the other movie that he played himself in? It was Tropic Thunder.
shit,
I
that's
forgot
right.
he's in that.
Yeah.
Yep. And
Is he? I'm not doubting, but when is he? I can't remember.
he apparently has a cameo in it at some point.
Okay.
I don't know. As himself. According to Wikipedia.
Sure.
Okay.
And how many other collaborators
give it
do
to
you
you.
think this movie has?
Milk and Tropic Thunder. I feel like they've just shared a crew, no?
Very similar movies. Bri?
I'm gonna say 3.
Scott?
2.
And Daisy Green?
I'll go 9.
It's 7. That goes to Daisy Green. It's closest. Right, back to you, Daisy Green. Will Graham and Sheldon Mopes / Smoochie the Rhino.
What?
The two characters is Will Graham and there's Sheldon Mopes / Smoochie the Rhino.
I don't think I've seen either of these films. I'll have to pass.
Scott?
Edward Norton. It's Death to Smoochie and Red Dragon.
Correct.
And
I
the year
haven't
was
seen either.
2002.
Correct. And how many
yeah.
other collaborators do you think this movie has?
9's been a good number. It's been safe, so I'm gonna go with 9. That's like
Bri?
Say 3.
And Daisy Green?
I'll go 15.
You're gonna go 15. You said 9. 9 is closer because it is 11. Again,
Wow, some 9/11 action in 2002. Rough.
Scott, who played Henry Hank McCoy / Beast and J.R.R. Tolkien the same year, and all that other shit.
Nicholas Hoult.
Yes. I should have done a Kelsey Grammer bait and switch.
I was like thinking about no, wait a minute, we did Nosferatu. I was about to say obviously Kelsey Grammer, but I was like, no. X-Men: Days of Future Past.
Wrong, Bri. Any guesses? Daisy Green.
What was the other one? It was Beast and
J.R.R. Tolkien.
I have no idea.
It's a movie called Tolkien.
Great.
And Dark Phoenix, which are both released in 2019.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't know
Okay.
which.
And Daisy Green, how many other collaborators do you think those two movies have?
I'm gonna go 30.
Scott?
9.
Bri?
Say 3.
It is 4, so that's Bri's points. And Bri, this one's for you. Who played William Buffalo Bill Cody and J. Jonah Jameson the same year? And what were those movies in the year?
So obviously it's a Spider. What's his name? Spider-Man.
His name is
My brain.
Spider-Man.
Spider-Man didn't play JK's.
No, the movie. I'm asshole. What is his name? Why does my brain do these things? Shit.
Do you want to try to guess which Spider-Man it is?
Well, name me. I'm thinking it's. I think it's 2.
I'm gonna go ahead and give you that point. It is Spider-Man 2.
And this is bothering me so bad because it's.
I think I'm gonna have to maybe move on.
Yeah, it's fine. Starting to get angry in a second.
Daisygreen goes in your direction. Sorry,
Wait,
Scott.
so what are the 2 roles?
William Buffalo Bill Cody and J. Jonah Jameson.
I don't even know which role in Spider-Man 2 that is. I don't know which one of those is in Spider-Man 2.
Oh no. You want to pass?
Okay, wait. J. Jonah Jameson and Buffalo. Well, obviously one is like a Buffalo Bill situation. I don't know.
Scott?
It's J.K. Simmons.
Yep.
Okay.
The year is 2004.
Correct. And what movie did he play Buffalo Bill in?
Oh, I thought that was Spider-Man 2. I don't know. I don't.
That's Hidalgo.
Can I still?
Hidalgo?
Yeah.
Oh.
Sorry. Did I cut you off, Bri?
No, because I was going to get it wrong, actually.
Okay. Well,
I actually did know it was 2004. I'm sad I didn't slide in there with that.
and how many other collaborators do we think this one has, Scott?
9.
Bri?
3.
Daisygreen?
7.
Well, Scott gets it because he's the highest because it is 74.
What?
Damn! Everybody's like,
when I said it was when I said it was 0 to 80. This is the one that
I
set
thought
the 80.
you had to just be fucking with us that it was never going to get that high.
What even is? What's Hidalgo?
It's got to be the VFX team.
Yeah,
right?
Probably. It's stunts.
The whole VFX
it looks like a lot
team,
of stunts
or
and
stunts.
second unit stuff.
What is that movie? I remember the name.
Yeah,
but I don't,
what is
like,
Hidalgo?
And music department. It looks like it's a horse race.
Is it about a horse?
It's about a horse
Okay.
race.
Oh, so it's like a movie that came out a few years after Seabiscuit, trying to like capture that Seabiscuit
Yeah.
dollar. Okay.
Daisygreen. Amy and Lois Lane.
Did you just say Amy?
Amy and Lois Lane. Yeah.
Well, there have been so many Lois Lanes. Amy Adams.
Correct.
What does she play Amy in? Arrival?
Incorrect. Bri?
Isn't she actually play? I think that's her name in Nightbitch.
Incorrect. I'm gonna have to go to Scott.
Man of Steel.
That's correct. That's the Lois Lane one.
All right. So then 2013 is the year.
Correct.
I don't know where she plays Amy in.
That's the name of her character in Her.
Oh, okay. Actually, I forgot she's in that.
Have a guess at the other collaborators, the number of other.
Between Man of Steel and Her.
Yeah. Scott?
9.
Daisygreen?
12.
Bri?
Say 3. Put the undercard.
Scott, you got it real. You guys were both pretty close because it's 11. Or wait, no, 10. 10. If it had been 11, it would have gone to Daisygreen because she would have been closer.
Yeah.
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 All right.
Just eke that one out.
Wow.
And then Scott. Wait, hold on. Yeah, no. Sorry. Bri, Dr. Robert Ledgard and Puss in Boots.
I have no idea. I didn't see Puss in Boots. I have no idea. I 2017.
Scott?
It's Antonio Banderas.
Yes.
Jesus, is it Indiana Jones and the last one?
Nope.
Okay, I got it.
Daisygreen.
Dr. Robert Ludgard.
Yep.
Ooh. Is it 2022?
It is not. So this was The Skin I Live In, which came out the same year as the first Puss in Boots movie in 2011.
Okay.
And how many other collaborators do we think these two movies have? Because it's not zero, I'll tell you that. Daisygreen, any guesses?
62.
Bri.
I'm gonna stay with 3.
And Scott.
Sticking with 9.
That goes to Scott. Because it was one less than that. It was 8. Scott, this one's for you. Chief John Anderton and himself as Austin Powers. Who played Chief John Anderton and himself as
Tom
Austin?
Cruise.
That is, in fact, Tom Cruise.
In Minority Report.
Yep.
And Austin Powers and Goldmember.
Yes.
Which I believe both came out in 2002.
These are all correct. How many collaborators do we think that these movies shared?
Look, we're just gonna go with 9. it's been a winning strategy. So
Daisygreen.
I'll go 6.
Bri.
I'm gonna go 10. I'm gonna try to price this right this shit.
What the fuck?
You got it, Bri, because it was not. It was 50.
You're getting the gold. Don't worry, you're getting the gold.
It was 50, and for
50?
one extra
Holy
point,
shit.
there's one very famous collaborator that these movies share.
Steven Spielberg.
That's correct. Steven Spielberg directed Minority Report and cameos as himself in that same sequence in Goldmember.
Wow.
He's directing the movie that Tom Cruise is starring in as Austin Powers. And there's a really funny part where, like, when the dance starts, it looks like Spielberg is just doing a bunch of backflips. Like, it's edited pretty well, so it looks like he just does the flip. And so, yeah.
Hell yeah.
Fun stuff.
And you know what? I'm going to save this last set of ones because I think we're already going a little long. Scott, Daisygreen, early on you were commanding the lead, and then Scott took over towards the middle. But Scott, gold medal, Daisygreen, silver, Bri by only a few points, the bronze. But a good showing from everybody. You have your thing, Scott, this week or no?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So let's go over to Scott.
All right, welcome to Scott's Comic Corner, brought to you by Eric Clapton and Pre-Crime. It works. All right, so first off, I've been really enjoying Jason Aaron's run on Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and we get to issue 6. Now would be a good time. If you're interested in jumping on, the first 4 issues were each individual turtle, kind of where they've been. And they actually, none of them were in issue 5. It was a Casey Jones issue, but now they're finally back in New York. So yeah, that would be a good time if you're interested in the series to jump onto this, where, you know, there's a little bit backstory you might not have, but we met the bad guy, and things are not looking good for the Turtles right now. Then next up that came out this week was Lex Luthor edition of Superman. In these Joshua Williams, which I really enjoyed his run on Superman, and they're at about issue 20 now. In that run, Lex has lost his memory, and this is kind of the issue where it looks like he's starting to get it back. He's starting to come back into his own. I remember when I read this, I remember thinking like this could have just been an issue of Superman. He's in it a bunch, but they made this its own separate issue. It also kind of ties into the Absolute universe. When this DC is doing a new All In, that's what their new initiative is called, and part of that started with the All In series where the universe broke, and that's how they introduced the Absolute universe. And this sort of plays off of that, where they are like going to start speaking with the Absolute universe. So maybe that's why they made it its own series.
I think part of it, I read that he wanted just to give like the rest of the Lex Luthor stuff space to breathe, so he did it as like a one shot like that.
I get that, but it was also like he's a big enough character in this series that you could have just had an issue.
Had it been an issue,
like that focused more on him, because like I said, Superman plays a big part in this, so it's not like it's like Superman without Superman.
I read a nice little one shot that was Doctor Doom and Rocket Raccoon. Which was pretty cute and fun.
Yeah,
and, two of my favorite characters.
Yeah, I had a bunch of issues on my pull list last week, so that's why I didn't grab that one.
Yeah.
But it's written by J. Michael Straczynski, and I like his stuff. So, and then the one final thing is Deadpool number 10 comes out this week. It'd be another issue if you're looking to jump on. This would be a good place to start. He was dead for a little bit, but he's back now, and it sets up next month. It's going to be a crossover. Deadpool's been written by Cody Ziegler, who also writes Miles Morales Spider-Man, and starting next month, they're going to cross over in a series called Pools of Blood, and actually gets set up in this issue. So if you're interested in that, check it out.
Nice. Well, I'd love to ask if anyone has anything else to look at motherfucking into genocide, Palestine, Congo, and everywhere else. I finished watching. I've seen all the Best Picture nominees, and I actually think I'm gonna piss people off. I think it's a pretty good batch this year, even the one that everyone hates. Even though that is like one of my least favorite of them. But I saw Nickel Boys, which I loved actually. Like I did not think I was gonna like it as much as I did. It's a fucking nightmare. It's really good though. They use this pin in it. I have the pin that they use at one point. There's a sequence.
Oh yeah.
This is like mild spoilers, but there's a couple sequences that don't take place necessarily as far back in the past as you think. But it's a really good movie, and despite my issues with like the idea of like a POV movie being all literal POV and like the weird things that I don't really like what that says about, it's like a really obvious on the nose way to use artifice, but I actually think the movie is so good that I didn't really bother me by the end. And I'm Still Here was really good too. Both upsetting nightmares.
Yeah, I'm Still Here is the one I have left to see.
Not a situation, neither of which are situations I would like to go through.
Fair.
And, also saw Presence, which I actually really liked. The new Steven Soderbergh movie.
Oh yeah, I want to see that. I love Soderbergh.
Kind of a little experiment, and yeah, I want to say I had some other stuff written down, but I'll let anybody else. If you got anything else y'all want to shout out.
Better Man, the Robbie Williams biopic. Huge fan.
The monkey movie.
Go see it. The monkey movie. They've stopped releasing, box office numbers because it was doing so badly, but now word of mouth picking up. I'm waiting for that like really dramatic. They drop the numbers like 2 months from now, and they're like, and now it's made $400 million.
Well, you weren't looking.
They should have waited until Osgood Perkins the monkey comes out, so it could be like a monkey-based double feature.
Yes.
Gotten everyone to go to the theater.
Yeah. You should talk to their marketing department. That would have been good.
Yeah. And but yeah, we'll be back in 2 weeks with Twin Peaks Club, The Return, parts 1 through 5. I want to thank Bri here for composing our outro. I want to say like and subscribe. Smash that like button. Follow us on CinemaCurse666, Instagram and TikTok. You can listen to us on Spotify now. Technically, you can go to cinemacurse.com and it goes to like the YouTube playlist for everything. And, share this episode with your local vampire. Everybody knows a vampire lives nearby. Go to his house, be like, hey, you got a lot of time in the coffin. Here's some good content. Martin Scorsese told me this is his favorite content. So you should take a listen to it. But thanks, y'all, and bye-bye.
See you later.